So it's a Friday night. What are you planning on doing?
You are now listening to Limited Trust, a Devastator podcast. Let's get into it.
Episode 71, Limited Trust, a Devastator podcast. It's fucking 39 degrees out here as usual. Got the arbor wear on. I'm trying to stay alive out in this motherfucker. I can't remember. I like fucking literally 10 fucking minutes ago, I was like, oh yeah. I can't remember, or I can't forget to fucking talk about this. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting all my shit together to come out here. And of course, I fucking forgot. I can't fucking, what the fuck was it? I don't know. I can't fucking remember. I know that Scrapyard got a hold of me yesterday. The management over there said fucking package shows as delivered, but it wasn't. I had a fucking heart attack, a little small one. I said, what the fuck, man? Fucking, but it got dropped off today, I guess. So USPS had me a little fucking shook up for a minute there. So I was all fucking upset about that. I was like, what the fuck, man? I'm trying to think. I don't know. Fuck, I can't remember what I wanted to make sure. I was like, yo, you make sure you gotta fucking talk about that. But damn, now I'm drawing a total blank on this shit. Now I'm sure I'll come up with it. Lately, well, not lately. I always do this, but more so, more frequently as of recently. I've been thinking about my friend that died, and it would be it's been 20 years now. It'll be fucking 21 years ago in May, and that's who my son is named after. That's the party was for him, where I fucking stabbed everybody, and he was such excuse me, he was such an important part of my life. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, I've talked about all this shit, and but I've never talked about AJ, and it kind of made me, I actually like kind of felt bad. I might have mentioned him, or, kind of told the story of, whatever, but I never really told you guys about this dude. And so there's no special occasion or anything like that. It's just been on my mind. So I met AJ, right? AJ was Paulie's foster brother when he had to go to foster home. And they met there. So when Paulie got out of the foster home and he was living back at his, I think it was his mom's at the time, down in Charlotte, which is right down the street from Lake Ontario, from the beach. And we had a lot of fucking fun in that spot that he was staying at. It was like a row of apartments, and it was, I don't know what the fucking deal was, but it was fucking wild. It was like everybody was wilding in there, and no one gave a fuck. Like all these neighbors and shit, like everyone was straight. So we had a good ass time there. But I remember I think I had like 7 or 8 Budweiser bottles in a fucking bag, right? And Paulie was always like, you never knew which way he was gonna go when it was partying. Like, he was either gonna go with you and fucking and hang out all night, or he was gonna go with you, fucking go hard for half an hour, and then fucking stop drinking, and then fucking next thing you know, a ride is pulling up for him, like wherever we're at, like totally undiscussed. Or he would just go to sleep. He would just like fall asleep at fucking 8 o'clock, or, you know, so you never really knew with him. But when I was in Charlotte, because I would be coming in from living in the country, because I had just moved out there, like moved out there within the last 12 months, you know, last year of this. And so he would, because he actually would come and stay at my house and shit. And he escaped the foster home and came and lived with me. So it was like, you know, we were back and forth a lot. And I remember I had about 7 or 8 Budweisers in a fucking, in a grocery bag, a plastic bag. And I was telling Paulie, I'm like, yo, I'm about to go to the fucking beach. It's summertime. It's the weekend. I was like, I'm about to go down there. I'm about to walk down the street with my bag of beers and just fucking see what's the deal. It's probably a half an hour walk from there. And he's like, nah, fuck that, man. And we were already drinking. And he's like, nah, I'm about to go to bed. And I was like, man, come on, man. What the fuck, man? This is some bullshit. And then, and he kind of like talked me out of it. And I remember sitting on this little love seat that was down in he had a basement room, but the basement was like parking lot level. So you just walked out of his fucking room, like out into the parking lot of the apartment complex, which is kind of cool. And I remember sitting there going, this is fucking bullshit, man. And then on the fucking window, I said, the fuck was that? I fucking opened a little bullshit curtain. It's fucking AJ sitting there. Now, earlier that day, he was not sitting there, he was standing there, knocking on the window. Earlier that day, I met him for the first time, and he just like pulled up, and he's like, hey, what the fuck's going on? Da, 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 da. He introduced himself, you know, Paulie introduced us. And he was like, I'll be back later. And I just thought, like everybody else around, yeah, everyone's always going to be back later, and they don't ever come back. Well, fucking, yo, what the fuck? I said, I remember opening it. I said, it's AJ. And he's like, what the fuck's he doing here? And I'm thinking it's probably like 10 or 11 o'clock. It's not that late, but it's, you know, it's late enough. So we go out and we're like, yo, what the fuck? He's like, what the fuck you guys want to do? And we didn't have a vehicle or anything. And he's driving. He had his Ford Escort. I think it was a hatchback Ford Escort, 5-speed, 4-speed, 6-speed. I don't really know. It was manual though. And he was like, he said, let's fucking roll out. He's like, fucking, who's going? And I was like, yo, I'm going. Let's go. And Paulie's like, all right. If we got the whip, I'll go. Okay. And he said, and you guys got beer? And I said, I got beer. And he's like, shit, you sit in the front seat. And Paulie's like, fuck that. No. And he's like, no, I'm being serious. He sits in the front seat. So I'm sitting in the front. We're fucking driving. That was the first time I ever met Gordy. So we went over to Gordy's house. Gordy's ma, which is Paulie's grandma, she was still alive at the time. And I remember Gordy had to like get his fucking marijuana allowance from her. And he's like, Mom, let me get some weed. And she's like, smell this, Gordy, it's skunky. And she's like passing around his bags to give him his fucking weed allowance and shit. And I remember smelling that shit. I'm laughing. They're playing cards at Gordy's house. I'm fucking, by this time now, I'm all fucked up. And I'm not on probation or anything. You know, I'm like fucking, I'm fucking going in. I'm fucked up. I'm smoking fucking, and that was the first night I met AJ. But I just remember like I was fucking so bummed out that Paulie didn't want to go down to the fucking beach. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit, you know? And then bam, then this dude comes and he's like my fucking knight in shining armor of partying. So I didn't know it at the time, but we ended up becoming like best fucking friends. And it's probably about a 40-minute, maybe 35-minute drive from his house to come get me. And then we'd go to the city, which is an hour, so you'd turn around and go back an hour. Then you would have to drop me the fuck back off at home and then drive back to fucking where he lived a half an hour. So he did like all this driving fucking around just to get me and go do dumb shit. And I just remember having a lot of fucking fun with him, just me and him, and we'd go fucking places. We'd do all this dumb shit. Not really do a lot of dumb shit, but we went to a lot of places, and like he got me into a lot of things, and we'd like cut down trees to make money and shit. And I remember we were cutting his fucking tree down out in a real good part of town, and we had been drinking all I've been drinking all day was beer, was Keystone Ice. And I had to take a shit so bad, right? And I was fucking drunk. And I was like, we're cutting a tree down in this person's front yard. And he's like, I was like, dude, I gotta take a shit. He was like, well, he's like, there's two things you could do. He's like, you could fucking, and he had a truck at this point. He's like, you could drive the truck into the town and find somewhere to go. And I had never like driven before, and I'm drunk. He said, or you could fucking knock on the door and ask these rich people if you could use their bathroom. Yo, I fucking blew up the bathroom on the first floor like a guest bathroom so bad. It was so fucking bad. It was fucked up. I remember coming out going, oh man, I was hanging my head in shame after that. But then we got the tree done, so I was like straight, and we got paid. But that shit was funny as shit. And then I remember this other time we were going to some party somewhere in Gates. I fucking knew these people, and it all ended up being bad. Like eventually, we went there a few times, and and one time, this one time, actually this was all the same time. This was all the same trip I'm thinking of, because it was one like good trip, and then the second time we went to go party there, it turned fucking bad. It was like a bad time. And well, this time, so we're driving there, and the people are like, oh, get us beer. And now AJ, he was 18, and he looked 30, and he used to say that shit. He used to be like, he's like, look at me, Kyle. He's like, I'm 18. I fucking look 30. He's like, imagine what I'm gonna look like when I'm 30, and I'm like, stop that shit, man. He had a fucking beard, he had a full beard, and he just looked like he was 30. He didn't look like he was fucking 18. He looked like he might even been 40. He could buy beer fucking anywhere, like with no problem, no issue. Sometimes I would even go into places and fucking call him dad and shit while we were there, standing there, like, Dad, let me get this fucking Pepsi. Which wasn't even necessary, but it just added to the illusion. So we're going to this fucking party, right? And they're like, pick us up whatever fucking beer it was. I don't even remember what it was. Okay. And we had brought our own, and he had a bag of mushrooms. And so we go to, we're about to go to this fucking party, and we're driving, and he fucking, I don't remember if he had the beer between his legs or he set it somewhere, but he spilled it like all over his pants, on his balls and shit, all over his dick area. And he goes, and we were like we were around the corner. And he said, what the fuck? He had on khaki pants. He said, or not, like fucking work pants, khakis. And he was like, fuck. He goes, it looks like I fucking pissed myself. Fuck. And I looked at him, and I fucking just poured my beer all over my fucking lap. And I said, now we'll both go in there like that. And he said, he started laughing. He said, dude, I fucking appreciate that. He goes, but don't ever fucking do that again. He goes, we can't both walk in there looking like that. People are going to think some weird shit. He's like, so we went to this gas station, and fucking we were like holding our pants up in the air dryer shit, trying to dry our fucking pants off before we could go to this party. So we ended up going to this fucking party, right? And we bring them their beer, and whatever it was, it was like $25 or something, right? I don't know what the fucking deal was. It was something. So they paid for the shit, and we're like hanging out, and we are definitely like the outcasts of this shit. Like nobody really knows us, and we're sitting down in a basement. It's the first time I ever heard that. What happened to that boy? I heard that beat and I was like, oh, I gotta have that. I need to remember this, which turned out to be very difficult to do as the night went on. So we're down in the fucking basement, and I was like, at the time I was like super fucking thugging. I was thugging hard. And I shouldn't have. I had no reason to be thug. I mean, I was off the block, like fresh off of out of the neighborhood. But right then, specifically at that time, I was living in the fucking podunk ass fucking country. But I was like at the height of fucking thugging it. And some kid was talking about drugs. Someone that was at this thing, and I don't even know who the fuck he was. And he's going something. He's like, a conversation came up about drugs, and he's like, what do you guys got? And AJ said, what do you need? And the dude says, it was like a fucking movie. He says, well, what do you got? And he says, well, what do you need? And he goes, well, I mean, what do you got? And I said, cracking guns. What's up? And he said, oh, nah, I don't need none of that. Da, 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 da. I was like, this thing was taking place, and I just fucking couldn't bear to listen to it anymore. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So now we're with all these people, right? And he's got an eighth of mushrooms. I've never fucking even seen mushrooms before. And he's like, yo, and I know he just did it because it was cool. And I did it because because I wanted to be cool in front of all these people. And he's like, yo, you want to fucking, and I was like, yeah. So he pulls out half of this fucking eighth of mushrooms, gives it to me. I'm just fucking acting like I'm a professional here. I don't know what the fuck I'm getting myself into. And we continue hanging out with these people. It's mad fucking lame, right? It's like mad lame. And probably 40 minutes passes and shit. And I'm like, he's like, feeling anything? I'm like, I'm not feeling nothing. He's like, here, eat the rest of this, right? So I ate the rest of it in front of all these people and shit, thinking I was the man. Ate the rest of it. So after that, we were only there for probably another 20 minutes, and someone's like, oh, fucking this dude Pat, oh, his mom's here. Oh, everybody, they were at the bar, but they just came home, blah, blah, blah. They're kicking everybody out. And I don't know if that was just a story to get us the fuck out of there or what. But then these fucking people who were adults at the time, but they're probably younger than I am now, came down and they were like, all right, shut it. Is there one person here that's 21? And AJ said, me. I'm over 21. And if I remember correctly, the fucking dude said, why are you hanging out with these kids? And he said, we're just leaving. So I don't even know why I did this. This was kind of grimy of me, actually, but I just did it probably because I was a little fucked up. I was getting fucked up. So the people are like, like you could tell we weren't wanted there. So I'm like, all right, we're about to leave. So he grabbed our beer. And then I just like kind of grabbed their beer at the same time, and then we just bounced, and I took it. So these people were breaking our balls upstairs in the kitchen before we left, and we're walking out to the where the fuck was it? I think he was parked at the end of the driveway. It was fucking cold too. This wasn't in the summertime, so this had to be. I met him in the summertime, and this had to be the winter that followed, like that was coming up to it. So I probably met him in 2002. I met him in the summer of 2002, and he died in May of 2003. So this had to be like the winter of 2002 or something like that, right around there. I'm just trying to put the pieces together because of the elemental aspect of the story. So we're walking out to the fucking car. He goes, what? And he like looks around me to see this fucking, I think it was an 18 pack because it was like long. And he goes, did you take their fucking beer that they paid for? I said, yup. And he just started laughing, right? So he gets in the car. He fucking, and I'm standing, I look 12. He looks 30, right? I look 12. I'm looking down the street and I see fucking a police driving down the street fucking, and they got the spotlight going, and I'm like, oh shit. So the cops are coming down the street. He already opened the passenger door, threw our beer in the back. This was the smoothest shit ever, and I'm not remembering this incorrectly. This is exactly how it happened. I set this fucking 18 pack down on the end of the apron of the driveway. Excuse me. And it was all ice. And I just like kicked it like slightly, like I didn't even kick it. I like pushed it with my foot, and it slid on the ice, and it slid right down like beyond the tire of the car. So it just slid right out of view beyond the tire. And then it was like as the cop was pulling by looking, and they fucking were beaming the spotlight and shit and looked right at us, and I was just like, and then it couldn't have been more fucking perfect. And he like looked down, the door's open and shit. He just picked it up, put that in the back. So by this time, he's like, all right, well, we got all this fucking beer. We got to find somewhere to fucking go drink some beer now because this shit is deaded. So we bounce with their beer. We go to fucking Brockport. We go to this dude named Ed's house. It was an apartment in the Viking Apartments, which is like it's kind of like a college. It's like right next door to the fucking college, the SUNY College. And we're going to go, and we used to party there and hang out there and shit. Ed was cool. And, but he was in fucking college, so he's like even older than us. He's older than AJ. He's in his 20s. He's probably in his mid to early 20s, something like that. So we show up there. Boy, them mushrooms started working, dog. Son, I was fucking fucked up. I remember just sitting there, and I just kept asking, what time is it? What time is it? And they kept, and this has always been an issue with me when I would take mushrooms, any kind of heavy drugs really, but mainly mushrooms. Fucking is the time, and they were like, it's 5 minutes. Fucking, it's been 1 minute since you've last asked. It's been 3 fucking minutes, and I just kept, what time is it? I ended up going out into the hallway of this apartment complex and sitting with my legs like extended all the way across the hallway. And I remember these people walking by, like they left out of their apartment. And they like looked at me, and I'm just sitting there looking, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, are you okay?" And I just don't say anything to them, and I just look at them. I'm obviously bugged out of my fucking mind, and they just like had to step over my legs to fucking walk by. It was fucked up. And I remember driving, and we're in the Escort. It's fucking cold. And maybe it just felt cold because it probably wasn't cold. But I just was looking out of the window, and he's fucking driving me home now. I said, I gotta go home. I was like, I fucking can't function. I'm fucked up. I gotta go home. So he's like, all right, I'll bring you home. And now it's fucking, I think it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. It was fucking late. And I remember I just kept thinking that I was seeing the same tree. And I told him, I was like, we ain't never going to get there. You're driving in circles. You keep driving by the same tree over and over. And he's like, dude, you got to fucking calm down. We're going to get there. I promise. I know where I'm going. You're good. And a few times that I had to get in and out of the car, like I would get in the car and the doors would close, and then it would be like, you know, the interior lights would go fucking dim, and I'd say sanctuary. So that was fucked up. Sanctuary. And I felt like safe in this fucking car. And I remember fucking I was surprised. We pulled in the driveway. My mom, Steve, everyone's awake, and I'm like, oh no, I gotta face these motherfucking people, man. And I'm all fucked up. I had never been fucked up on drugs like this before. And I walked in, and my mom and Steve were just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, I didn't feel good. I had to come home. And they're like, all right, well, you're home. And I remember I walked upstairs, and I had these 15-inch MTX fucking stage speakers. They were crazy. And my Uncle Larry fucking chained them, bolted them up into the fucking corners of the room, which it actually looked kind of cool after he did that. But I was pissed about it at first, but then that shit was kind of dope. And I remember when I walked in the room, I thought, like, walking up the stairs, I was like, all right, I'm just drunk now. And when I opened the door to my room, like, the speakers looked mad small, and they were fucking huge. They looked like real small up in the corner, and I was like, oh, man, I gotta go to bed. But, so I don't even know why I just told this story about drug use and shit, but AJ fucking took care of me. And then the next day he came and picked me up. He's like, yo, what's the fucking deal? How are you? And I was like, I'm straight. I'm all right. And then we were talking about it, and he's like, dude, you were fucking on one. You were like, you made Ed mad because you wouldn't talk to him and shit. I was like, for real? He said, yeah, you told him he was a bad person and shit. You were looking him in his eyes, telling him how bad of a person he was. And that part, I didn't even really remember that because I was zinged the fuck out, man. It was some shit. Let me tell you what. So then that day, then we went and cut down a tree from someone else for $100, and he's like, I gotta get change for this 100, and I was like, nah. I was like, just keep it. Got it for the fucking mushrooms and shit. And I remember he was like, damn. He was like, I wasn't even gonna fucking, I wasn't gonna charge you for that. And I said, well, what the fuck, man? I just gotta do my thing, man. I gotta be fair in this motherfucker. But and I remember this other time. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just going on. I remember this other time. He came and he picked me and Paulie up, and we were at some apartment complex in Spencerport somewhere, and we were just about to leave, and he's like, yo, I gotta piss. I'm like, I gotta piss too. And Paulie's like, well, I gotta go. I'm going out to the fucking car. So we go into this laundry room, right? And there's a garbage can, like a regular small, like office garbage can, and then a tall fucking laundry sink, right? And he was taller than me and shit. But I said, I'll piss in the sink, and you piss in the garbage can. And he's like, I mean, I should piss in the fucking sink. I'm taller than you. I said, I'll be fine, right? So we're pissing in the fucking sink. I'm pissing in the sink. He's pissing in the garbage can. And he looks at this fucking sign that's on the wall. It says, like, by the order of the fire marshal, whatever, one of them fire marshal signs. He goes, damn, I want that sign. And I said, now I like made a note of that, right? And just then, there's like some kind of noise out in the hallway, and he's like fucking whoop, puts his shit away. He walks out. I like kind of did that. I turned the fucking water on, so it looked like I was washing my hands. It looked bad, suspect. This woman's coming down with her basket of laundry. There's AJ walking out. Just like walking out, don't say shit. She walks in, I'm just in there washing my hands, and this fucking, she don't know, never seen us before. And I say, oh, hi. And she goes, hello. She was probably 20 or something like that, or probably 25 at this, but she was like older in my mind, because I was like 16. And I said, oh, hello. And she goes, what's up? And I'm like, nothing. I was like, we're just getting out of here. And I looked, and I said, you mind if I take that sign? And she like looked at it, and she said, she's like it was her house. And she goes, I don't care. So I fucking go to grab it, and I thought it was just, like hanging there. And I'm like, oh shit. It was fucking bolted, like it was screwed into the wall. So I ended up fucking pulling it out, and I broke all this fucking drywall out. I fucking break the fucking sign out of the wall and walk out fucking. he's just getting in the car. I fucking put it in on the console, and he's like, oh shit. He's like, you got that fucking sign. And now his brother Matt still has that sign. And it was funny to see it at his shop like fucking years later. I said, AJ gave you that sign, didn't he? He said, yeah, he did. I said, yo, I ripped that shit off a fucking wall. Came with the drywall and everything. And so Paulie goes, well, let's go to Brockport School District. He always talked about like he ran shit out there. He went there for a couple months. He's like, I ran shit. They called me Pimp Master Paulie, PMP, all this shit. I was like, yeah. So we're both out of school. Like, I'm not in school for whatever reason. He ran away from school. Like, he fucking bounced on the foster program. So So AJ drops us off at fucking Brockport High School, and we just walk in, right? And we're just walking through the school. We go in the lunchroom. We're sitting there, and this lunch aide comes up, and she's like, who are you two? And he purposely like just keeps talking in a conversation and ignores her. And I said, I'm Wilson. I said, I'm Wilson Bosley. And she goes, who? And I said, Wilson Bosley, you know me. And she goes, oh, honey, all right, okay. I just was saying, I haven't seen you in a while. I said, I usually got a hat on. She walked back to the fucking back behind the counter. We just sat there, continued talking to people. Then this other dude comes up, and Paulie goes, that's the fucking principal. And this dude goes, he goes, what are you guys doing down here? And of course, I'm the one that's got to talk, right? I said, eating lunch. And he goes, oh yeah? He goes, how come you don't have any books? I said, because we're at lunch. And he goes, why don't you guys come and take a walk with me? And now I know, like, we're about to get fucking thrown out of the school and shit that we're hanging out in the middle of the fucking day, like some straight fucking delinquents. So we walk out, we're walking out to the fucking, we're right at the door. And he goes, I remember you. And he points at Paulie, and he goes, I have no idea who you are, and you've never gone to school here, and you don't go to school here. He's like, now get out of here now, or I'm going to have the sheriff come and get you. And we're like, yeah, see you later, man. Fucking bounce. But then I think about back to that shit these days, and I'm like, what a fucking idiot. Who the fuck does shit like that? Oh, man. I miss AJ so much. That was like, that had to be the most heartbreaking thing, because I was just so young, and I think I had been to a funeral, you know, my grandma's or something, my little sister that died. But never a friend of mine, never a peer that was a friend of mine. You know, I went to my stepsister's boyfriend died. Dubs went with me to that one. But to have my friend die, it was new, you know, it was a new. I know that for weeks after that. Well, it was like after he died, and then a week later, I was in jail. So it was like the worst thing in my life turned into the next worst thing in my life, like pretty fucking quick. And I still remember, like, I would wake up, and I would say, like, I'd get ready to start the thought process of ask my mom, did AJ call? Or getting ready to grab the phone to call AJ. It took me a couple months to have that, like, to train myself into not doing that. And nothing was ever like like at the funeral or at well, the wake and then the funeral and fucking what do I say? There was never any closure on that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but there was never any closure. Like, for months after that, I still felt like I was gonna get a phone call or look out in the driveway, and I was fucking heartbroken. And I loved the rain. Like, you know, I still to this day, like, if it just rained forever, I would just be fine with that. If it just rained every single day, all day, just forever, I wouldn't even care. I would be totally fine with that. But on the day of his funeral, it was fucking pouring, and it was almost like it was supposed to be that way. You know, it was like it was for me. I always felt like that, and every time it rains now, I always say thank you, and that's like I do, and I have, and it's been fucking 20 years, and there was just so many other instances of him just being like a selfless fucking dude who would just do fucking anything for you. And now I think about it, like I think back, we were just children, you know, like I would say like he was a baby, you know, 18 years old, he's just a baby. And there's more parts to the story, and some people know the parts to the story, but I've never discussed the final part of the story with his family. And so I don't know if I would want to tell that here before telling them. And it's been years, but it's not like, you know, when we go to visit to the barbecue, tell this fucking story. But the last, I mean, I guess I could tell it like this because it's not really giving away a lot of the fucking detail of what led up to it. But something happened, and I told AJ that I couldn't be his friend anymore. And that's how I said it. You know, it was like a fucking, like a movie, you know, kind of thing. I was like, I can't be your friend anymore. I can't hang out with you anymore. And he said, no. Like, we'll figure this out. We'll figure it out. Da 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 da. And I said, no, I can't. But I really didn't mean it. I didn't mean that. That's not what I meant. I wanted him to feel like whatever had happened between us was affecting me, and that, you know, there was a consequence to what was happening, and I didn't really mean it. I just wanted him to feel like he was losing something because of that. And so he called me. So he brought me home. Well, he didn't bring me home. We never left. Like, he was there and then he left. And he went back to Ed's. And my house in the country, I could call anybody because we ended up with this unlimited long distance plan because my hacking AOL ran up $1,000 fucking bill because it was dialing inside the fucking area code, but still apparently it was long distance. Anyway, but people couldn't call me because it was fucking long distance. Same area code. So I would have people call me collect and say, you know, yo, Ziz call here, or Ziz call there, Kyle call there. And I'll still, I fucking, it's like written on the top of my brain. He said, you know, you've received a collect call from Kyle, call Ed's. And I remember thinking, and I wanted to, I was like, all right. And I didn't. I just said, no, gotta be strong. You know, we'll get it all sorted out. You know, you're trying to send a message here. You know, you're trying to, and I didn't hear from him for a day or two. And then I was in the shower, and when I got out of the shower, my mom said Jake called, and I was like, Jake called, and I said this out loud. I said, that's AJ's brother. She said, yeah. I told him I would, you know, get you out, but he said he'll just call back. And I was like, oh, that's fucking weird. So, you know, within 5-10 minutes, he calls back, and he said, Kyle, he said, we got to talk. And I hung out with Jake a few times with AJ, like a handful of times. We knew each other and shit, but, you know, I was friends with his brother. And he said, and I remember saying, I said, talk about what? What do we got to talk about? And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And he said, AJ died, dude. And I still, like, my whole fucking world just collapsed. I remember sitting on the phone, and I was just falling apart, and I'm feeling bad for myself, and then all of a sudden, in that feeling bad for myself, I realized that his little brother was calling all of his friends to let them know what the fuck happened and how difficult that had to be to just keep relaying this fucking message over and over again to people. And then he started crying, and we were both fucking crying. And I never dealt with that. I never gave myself the opportunity to grieve. That's when the alcoholism started, like, fucking real bad. And then, because probation, fucking, which I was on, well, it took a year to get on probation, but a week after AJ died, I fucking stab people. And so I was out on bail, so I couldn't really, like, do shit until the sentencing for after a year. Then we went to sentencing, and then it was another month. Anyway, so I really didn't go far. I didn't really do a whole lot because I was out on bail. And it was, I never really dealt with it. I never grieved properly. I never did what I needed to do to get better. And I still don't think I have, but I think as I got older, I learned with other people dying. I learned how to cope and deal with things and grieve properly. So I think I've done that late, you know. I think I've done it late, but I fixed that with drugs and alcohol for about many years. Many years. And yeah. So, yeah. And there's all kinds of stories. But I don't know. I just wanted to talk about AJ for a little bit. Because I love that dude. He was a good dude. He was like the best kind of friend you would want to have. Well, hopefully him, Gary, Randy. I don't even want to start naming off names. We're already at 40 fucking something minutes. It could be a while. But I do know that they're all in good company. So save me a spot, and I'll see you when I get there, AJ. I love you. And I love all you guys for listening. And I still never remembered what the fuck I wanted to tell you. out of here.